let me hit the record button here. And you get a copy of the recording if it does you any good. Some people use it, some people don't. Let me ask you your specifics. When did you graduate from college, or have you yet? Or
yeah, so I graduated from college back in 2013.
Okay.
I went to the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy at Kings Point.
Okay.
And I studied systems engineering there.
Okay. Okay, well, that in a way works in your favor. I get some GMAT students that haven't been in school for like 10 years, and then you really have to review the basic math. Whereas in your case, since it's only been a few years, your basic math skills, are they pretty good?
Yeah, my basic math skills are, I'd say, are pretty good.
Algebra and geometry, you're good on?
Yeah.
Now, GMAT incorporates a number of these other kinds of questions that go beyond basic math skills, like prime numbers, units, digits, remainders. In fact, I saw some categories that did not used to be on the GMAT. One of them being this units digit. I had to look up how to do those. That's a bit tricky. That did not used to be part of the GMAT. But I think I've learned how to do it. Do you know how to do those?
No, the units digits was what I was hoping we could go over. I just wanted to go through a few. Well, actually, I'm not sure which. Well, let me ask you a question. I have some odd and even case. Did you see the odd and even cases document that I sent?
Yeah, I think so. Here, let me pull it up. Getting a little used to my new Windows 10 here. Just recently upgraded from Vista. I got this spreadsheet, and this is just the topics that are covered under the test, right?
Exactly. And then everything that I have in green, I feel pretty comfortable with. Everything in yellow, so everything in red, I either don't feel comfortable with or I haven't really gone into it yet.
Okay.
So something more like polygons. It's even in my, I guess I was taking Calc B when I learned that, and by pre-calc we're really done with that.
Okay.
But you know, so I have like a basic knowledge of all of that, but
and
you don't really delve into it. Yeah.
The toughest part of the test is the data sufficiency questions, without doubt.
Okay.
I can probably get you up to speed on most of the math stuff, and then the data sufficiency problems, you just kind of have to do a bunch of those and learn the strategies that are needed to do them. And we certainly can look at some of the ones you've sent. Not sure there's anything on here. Odds and evens, in other words, basic number properties and number theory.
Yeah, exactly. From the document that I got offline, it was saying that number properties were consisted of odds and evens, units, digits, decimals, LCM and GCF, consecutive.
Yeah, that sounds about right. The biggest thing on odds and evens is obviously even times even is even times odd is even. The only thing that's odd is odd times odd. So of the three possible things, the only way you can produce an odd is by multiplying two odd numbers together.
Exactly.
Okay. Let's, rather than tackling these data sufficiencies, what I have found, what I did with Eric, what I did with Elia, what I've done with most everybody, is go over the math basically with them to make sure that their math skills are up to speed, and then dive into the data sufficiency. or even with Eric, I remember we used to spend 45 minutes out of every hour on the other stuff and then 15 minutes on data sufficiency. The data sufficiency can be a little demoralizing. Some of them are so tough.
Yeah, it's really an art. I've actually been studying for this for a good bit of time already.
Okay.
I worked down in the Gulf of Mexico for about a month at a time. So while I've been down there, I've been bringing this down with me and studying in my off time and everything.
Okay.
And so I've got a pretty good base as far as being familiar with the test. And then I have gone through a lot of data sufficiency questions. So now whether it's data sufficiency or problem solving, I feel like I'm pretty equal in those two areas. It's just that a tough data sufficiency or a tough problem solving may still get me.
Okay. Well, it sounds like
I feel like
you're better off than the average student, because I would say most of the students I start to work with are terrible in data sufficiency and much, much better in the problem solving. So if you're equal, that's pretty good, because the data sufficiencies are, in general, all hard.
Okay.
Have you gone over these that are on this sheet that you gave me?
The odd and even cases?
Well, the 3 or 4 data sufficiency problems that you gave me?
Yes. Everything in odd and even cases that I sent you, those are my typed up solutions to those problems, because I went through the problems, got them wrong, figured out the solutions, so every time I get something wrong, I write a solution for myself. When I go back to look at it in the future, I know exactly how to do it.
Okay, okay. One of the key things that you've probably discovered about data sufficiency is that you don't have to answer the question with an affirmative. In other words,
exactly.
If you can answer it with a negative, that's answering it. And yet it's kind of hard to convince yourself of that when you're working through them. We're used to, when you get a no, we're used to, well, that, is a negative. But with data sufficiencies, in other words, this question here, if m and n are integers, is m odd? Well, if I can prove that m is even, then I know the answer to that question. I don't have to be able to prove m is odd. But if I can prove that it's even, I've answered the question, even though it's not what they're asking. But not to jump around, but there's about 100 topics we could jump around, and we're not going to have that much time tonight. Let's just talk about units digit. In fact, let me bring up some of the problems that I have really good stuff also about the basic math. In other words, if you had any problems with basic geometry, I've got the Kaplan basic math review stuff for number properties, arithmetic, algebra, and geometry. And they go through a basic, intermediate, and advanced level. So, and it's like the first topic of geometry is lines and angles, and then they go to triangles, and then they go to circles, and then they go to polygons and solids and things like that. So if you're wanting to review just basic math, I feel like this is almost the best review material that I have. Maybe you don't need to review the basic level on lines and angles, but maybe the advanced you might have a little trouble with. Let's go back and make sure that I know how to do the units now. You had some units questions here, didn't you? Yeah, you did.
Yes. I had some units digits questions, and I have no clue.
Okay, well, let's talk about it, because to be honest, I had no clue either, because this didn't used to be on the test. But I did a little bit of reading on it, and it's not terribly difficult. Let's take that first one, 17 to the 27th power. The way you want to do these is, first of all, start with 17 squared.
Okay.
17 squared is always going to produce a units digit that's the same as 7 squared. Okay, so 17 squared would give you a units digit of 9. Now, 17 cubed, well, let's just even take 17 to the 1 power, gives you a units digit of 7. 17 cubed is going to be 9 times 7, which gives you a units digit of 3. And the way you do these is you keep increasing it until you see a pattern in the numbers. Well, to get 7 to the 4th power, I would multiply 7 times the 3, which gives me a units digit of 1. You with me?
Wait, okay, no. If you could just go back. I'm sorry, I was writing that down as you were writing that down.
No problem. Here, let me separate this a little bit here. Okay, it's important on these numbers to realize that 17 to the 1 gives you the same units digit as 7 to the 1. 17 to the 2 gives you the same units digit as 7 squared.
Okay.
Because notice that we're multiplying 17 by 17, the units digit only comes from this part of the multiplication.
Exactly.
Okay? So the key on this is to figure out a pattern, and let's do one more. We might be able to see a pattern if we do the 5th. Now, you saw how I got 7, 9, and 3? You see how I got the 3?
9.
In other words, the 3 comes from 7 cubed, which would be 49 times 7. So if I've got 49 times 7, the units digit is going to be a 3.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's how we're going to figure out the units digit as we count up. Well, now I've got 7 times 1. Now 17 to the 6th would be 7 times 7. See the pattern?
Okay, so two things. First off was that, so you're always going by the preceding units digit, which makes sense because that's how you're building with the exponent.
Yes.
And then now you're seeing the pattern where you're going 7 9 3 1 7 9 3 1 7 9 3 1, and that's just going to keep on repeating.
So this is called a cycle of 4. In other words, every 4 it's going to cycle. Okay?
Okay.
Which means 17 to the 24th power would be the same as 17 to the 4th power. It would be 1.
Exactly.
Okay? And the next 3, since it's 17 to the 27th instead of the 24th, I got to go 3 down. So I'm 7, 9, 3 is the answer.
Okay. That makes sense.
What are the new calculator rules for the GMAT? Do they allow it at all? Probably not.
No.
Yeah.
No calculator whatsoever.
Good. They didn't used to, and I had hoped they hadn't changed it, because that requires a lot different math skills when you can't use a calculator. Because obviously if I had a calculator, I could just put it in 17 to the 27th and look at the units digit.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, I think I prefer that the test does not include a calculator.
Me too.
Because if it does, then they're designing a test for you to...
That's why I wanted to ask and see if they changed it, because the test would be drastically different if they allowed a calculator.
Yes.
And they've kind of done that with tests like the SAT. When you took the SAT in high school or the ACT, it was a calculator test.
Yes.
And the problems were designed accordingly. although I never really felt like they gave a big advantage to somebody with a calculator. But now they've changed it, and the SAT test has a calculator section and a non-calculator section, which changes the nature of the test unbelievably, because you cannot believe how many high school students I have that manage to get into even like pre-calc without knowing how to do arithmetic. They just aren't good with it. They've become so dependent on a calculator. I had a student once pull out her calculator when the problem was multiply a number by 10. She reached for her calculator. I was shocked. But that's the state of affairs with the education system now, is calculators are so ubiquitous that if you get dependent on them, you're never going to go back and be able to depend on your mind, because you forget. In other words, even something like 7 times 9 is 63. If you're always using a calculator to get that, you're going to forget that 7 times 9 is 63, and then you're going to use the calculator to ensure accuracy. In other words, you'd rather use the calculator and be right than to do it in your head and be wrong even 1 time out of 100. Right?
Yeah, agreed.
So everybody ends up using the calculator all the time to ensure 100% accuracy, and then they forget how to do it manually. So it's a problem I'm constantly faced with when I'm tutoring high school students, is getting their math skills better. You want to do another units digit problem that I'll just make up? We only have 6 minutes. Just to make sure that you understand how it's done. Let's do this. Now, part of the problem with making it up in my head is I'm not sure if the cycle is a small number or a big number.
Yeah, so I guess we'll find out.
The cycle could be 15, I don't know. But let's just see if we can figure out what it is. So basically, I'm going to list 8 to the 1, 8 to the 2, 8 to the 3, 8 to the 4. I don't even need to list 18 because it's all based on the 8 only. So that's 8. What's the units digit on this one? On 8 squared?
Okay, so the units digit on 8 squared would be 4.
Okay, and the units digit on 8 cubed?
Would be 2.
And 8 to the 4th?
Would be 6.
Since I haven't found anything repeating yet, okay. 8
to the 5 is 8 again, so you have a cycle of 4 again.
Well, I think we do. But let's do one more number to make sure it's 4. I guess once you find a number that's repeated, it's always guaranteed to be the start of a new cycle. Yeah, because that's going to be 4. Okay.
Yeah.
So we do know that the unit or the cycle number is 4, which makes it what?
Okay, so you're basically going by divisibility of 4. So 44 would be just like 4.
Correct.
At which point the unit digit would be 6. So for 45, it's going to be 8 again.
Correct. Okay, good. I think you got units digit down good.
Okay.
And just my tutoring style is constantly asking you to do the work. In other words, it's not I'm not going to be a teacher that talks the whole session. It's all about getting you to answer the problems.
Okay.
Now, another thing is these remainder problems. I may have to do a little research on those also, because that's something else they've added.
Okay. Yeah. I've done a ton of remainder and divisibility. Okay. Again, every one that I got wrong, I put into a solution key.
Okay.
I could send that to you.
Yeah, that would be helpful for the future for sure. Uh,
Okay.
and I can do the same thing as I did with the units digit. I didn't know how to do the units digit, but I looked it up real quick on Google, and they gave me a nice little primer on it. And
Okay.
so I'll do the same thing on remainders because I'm not sure I know how to do like problem number 3 or even number 2. So for tonight, let's jump down to some of these others.
Okay.
Hmm.
I'm not sure. Do you- I I'd say we're probably running out of time now, correct?
Yeah, we were just scheduled for a half hour
Exactly.
here. So
So should we
we can
conclude
stop.
there?
Yeah, we can stop now if you like. That's fine. And there's no charge for the very first half hour session. So,
Okay.
and then my charge from here forward would be $32 an hour or
Okay.
$16 per half hour. And I do quite a few half hour sessions just because it's easier for, not easier, I've got some students that can't focus for an hour. You start to lose them at about the 45-minute mark. So I found that doing 2 half-hour sessions a week was a lot more effective than doing an hour session. Although for the GMAT that might not be true because you need to build up your endurance for the GMAT. The test itself is like a 3-hour test, is it not?
Yeah, it's a 3-hour test. Three
So,
and a half to yeah.
right. So if anything, you'd want to do the opposite. In other words, let's say you're going to take the GMAT in 3 months' time, as we get closer and closer to it, we might want to start doing 2-hour sessions, maybe even a 3-hour session, just to build your endurance. Because,
Yeah, that was kind I wanted to ask you, is there any limit as to, so if I see that you have a like 3-hour block there,
mhm.
or does that always mean you are fine to go for 3 hours straight?
Well, generally, yes.
Okay.
If you find 3 consecutive hours that I'm available, and certainly in the summer, there'll be plenty of those. And in fact, even during the school year, the last 2 weeks of the school year, in the mornings, I have those kind of availability. Um, so I can certainly do that. What happens is that you just get mentally really burned out, as you've probably discovered.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and it doesn't even take 3 hours. You can do data sufficiency problems for an hour and be completely brain fried.
Yeah.
And by you, I mean me. But Eric was the same way. But Eric was very, very much aware that building endurance is key. And so he just forced himself. I'd never seen a harder worker in my life than Eric was. Uh, he was determined to improve his score, and he did everything that he could possibly think of doing to do it. And he did. He moved his score over the 3 years we worked. I think he started at 500 and he ended up over 700. So he really did build his math skills and his quantitative thinking skills just by hard work. I'm not sure if I was much of a factor. It was mainly his hard work. Um, so, um, but anyway, yeah. So we can think along lines like that, where when are you taking the test next? I think you might have said in your email.
Yeah, I'll be scheduling the test right around July 22nd, sometime around, I think July 22nd is the date sticking in my head. It would be because I head back to work on, uh, like the day, a few days later. I don't know why my
But
calendar is.
we've got about 2 months then.
Yeah, exactly. So the last week of July. So yes, and June I won't really be able to receive any help because I'll be on the ship and we don't have the resources where I can get online.
Okay.
But during through the rest of May, I'm pretty busy right now, so I'd say our next session, I'll probably try scheduling something for maybe like closer to the last week of this month,
Okay.
and then certainly all of July. And I'll be doing work all of June to get ready as well. I'll just be at work, so I won't be able to have any contact.
You use my website, Algebra to Calculus Tutor or Digital Math Tutor? Which one? Do you remember?
Digital Math Tutor.
Good. That's the better one to use. Especially if you plan on paying with PayPal. Digital Math Tutor is much smoother and easier to pay with PayPal than Algebra to Calculus Tutor is. As far as scheduling, the scheduling is identical on either one, so it wouldn't really matter for that. And you've obviously seen how to schedule an online session, so
yes,
you know how to do that.
One question. I have a strong preference to send a money order. Is that at all possible?
Sure, no problem.
Okay.
Do you want my address?
Yes, I'd appreciate it.
Let me write it right here.
Okay.
Quarry Mountain. Not a street or an avenue, but just a mountain. That's Colorado. Where are you located right now, Matt?
Right now I'm in Central Virginia.
Oh, okay.
But I am originally from New York. I still live in New York, and I spent some time down in Florida.
Okay, well, gosh, I've got relatives in Florida and Virginia, so I'm real familiar with that. In fact, I graduated from Oxon Hill High School, right outside of Washington, D.C.
Oh, okay, wow.
And I was at Fort Belvoir for a while. I was a ROTC graduate, so
now where is that fort located?
Fort Belvoir?
Yes.
Right on the Virginia side of the Potomac, south of Beltway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Just a few miles over there.
I'm a Navy reservist myself. I'm headed in to get a physical on Saturday morning in Norfolk.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, it's been nice talking to you, and I'll let you just schedule whenever you want to schedule your next session.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much,
David.
David.
As far as the materials go, you can keep sending me materials. That's fine. That's perfect, actually. That gives us something to work on that's focused. But I also have plenty of materials if you just want to start with practice exams and go through some questions. That might be the easier thing to do rather than to dive right into the toughest problems right away. But it depends. If you know all the easy and medium ones, then that's where we would want to begin. But probably we want to begin a little bit at the easier stuff, I would think, just to make sure your basic math skills and geometry skills are good.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. Okay, so I have your address. I will send payment at least a week before any scheduled time, so that you have the money order ahead of any session, and I'll probably send a money order for like a number of sessions at one time, so I don't know how we'll keep track of that, but we could figure out a way.
I have pretty good accounting programs, so I just credit you with whatever amount you send, and then your sessions work against that credit. And I can always, I do it on a spreadsheet, so I can always send you the invoice and the account of all of your sessions. So.
All right. Well, that sounds great. All right. Thank you so much for everything, and it was a real pleasure getting to work with you.
Okay. I'll talk to you later.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.